Today we've got a very important episode for the sole reason that it hits very close to home for me and very close to home for a lot of people who are in education still, who are in college or attending high school. So today's show is going to be about the crazy liberal bias that has established itself in many of our public colleges, our public high schools, and it continues to grow, and conservative students continue to be discriminated against. We continue to have our ideals and beliefs dismissed and a lot of times criticized for the simple fact that we don't agree with a lot of the things that professors or teachers or some of the other students believe in. And as a result, we oftentimes are completely dismissed as crazy lunatics or bigots, all sorts of personal attacks, oftentimes as a result just because of our own personal beliefs. I started school again 2 days ago, and in these past 2 days, it's already come up a multitude of times. Of course, right now, politics is a very popular topic due to the election, but already in these 2 days, I've had it come up where my personal beliefs were attacked for the simple reason that I don't buy into the liberal indoctrination that has occurred in our public university system. The general unacceptance of our conservative beliefs as valid is very widespread and not all that uncommon from professors themselves. Whenever the topic of politics comes up, it's not all that uncommon for people to dismiss us as racist, as crazy, as bigots, or, say something like, oh, you're white, of course you believe that. But the thing is that the conservative movement and a lot of the conservative ideals don't just focus on the religious aspects of the movement. They don't just focus on, the anti-gay marriage parts of the movement. That's a small subset of the conservative ideals, but a large percent of the conservative ideals are completely ignored by the liberals here in the public university system for the simple fact that they don't agree with them. I've had people make remarks such as, oh, you're one of them, or to completely personally attack me because of my conservative beliefs. We are so outnumbered here in the university system. It is honestly disheartening whenever the topic of politics comes up. And so that's one of the reasons I want to do this show today, and I want to talk about it, is the fact that I had an incident last night in which politics was brought up. And we were talking about the election, and in a room of about 10 to 15 people, I was the only one in there actually defending the conservative ideas and actually defending the Republican candidates. People were calling me crazy that I said I would vote for Donald Trump if he won the nomination. And these same people were willing to say that they would vote for Bernie Sanders. Now, the thing with Donald Trump is that he is actually one of the most moderate candidates in the Republican race. If you actually sit down and look at his actual policies, he is one of the most moderate. A lot of people would even label him as not being a true conservative. And yet, they're going to say, I'm crazy for voting for a moderate. But these people would be willing to vote for Bernie Sanders, a left-wing nut, who would love nothing more than to destroy the very fabric that this country was founded upon. And yet, I'm the nut for voting for Donald Trump. But when you look to the Democratic choices, you have a socialist nut, and you have a woman who has repeatedly and blatantly lied to the American people and is under investigation by the federal government. And yet somehow that's a saner choice than voting for a Republican candidate? I don't think so. The amount of misinformation about politics, the Washington, D.C. in general, is absolutely astounding, and it becomes completely obvious anytime politics comes up, anytime any sort of political issue comes up, and it's honestly, it drives me crazy. Most people think if you bring up Donald Trump that he's going to kick out all the Muslims, that he's going to kick out all the Mexicans, that he's a complete racist, but never once has Donald Trump even said that. Donald Trump has vowed to defend our country against illegal aliens. Donald Trump has vowed to keep our country safe from Muslims who would love nothing more than to destroy our very way of life, but he has never once said he's going to kick people out. If anything, he's proposed policies, if bit extreme, that would probably never actually be implemented. If anything, he's presented policies that would help save ourselves from ourselves, if that makes any sort of sense. And yet, people go along with whatever CNN is saying. They go along with whatever they heard on the internet that is a complete and blatant lie. Yet they don't seem to care. The misinformation out there is absolutely crazy. And the fact is that there's really not a lot of conservatives, especially here. I'm in a very liberal school in one of the most liberal states of California. So I kind of expected there wouldn't be very many people who had similar beliefs. But as it stands, I don't know if I've met a conservative. It is absolutely crazy. Maybe one. And it just is kind of crazy because it has this effect. When you get in a room of 10, 15 people like it was last night, and I was the only one standing up for the Republican Party, well, that in itself causes, I think, a lot of conservative students to rather just sit there quietly because they don't want to be the one person being targeted. They don't want to be the one person who stands out from the group. So I think we have this culture in the universities and high schools where even if students are conservative, they don't stand up and say it because they don't want to be the one being targeted. So in effect, it makes it seem like there's even less conservative students than there are, which just has this cycle of getting worse and worse and worse. What really needs to happen, and what we're trying to do, I'm part of a great nonprofit movement called Youth Revolt, in which we're trying to arm conservative students with the ideas and the beliefs and getting them to stand up for their ideas because they're just as valid as the liberal ideas that are being indoctrinated into our students. So trying to get them to stand up and speak their mind and know that their ideas are just as valid is the goal of this great nonprofit. It's called Youth Revolt. It's starting up this year. It's hoping to help ease some of the indoctrination that is happening here in our public school system. A public school system that should be completely 100% non-biased one direction or the other. Yet that is not what is happening. According to the Washington Post, 72% of college professors are self-identified as liberal. Let's think about that. 3 in 4 professors are Democrats or farther left than Democrats. Yet our public university system is supposed to be unbiased. It's supposed to be an open forum where ideas and ideologies can be debated and shared. But 3/4 of the professors, the people in charge of teaching, the people in charge of establishing our students with ideas, with beliefs, are liberal themselves. So you can't tell me that 3/4 are going to, whether it's intentional, which I believe in a lot of cases it is, because it is absolutely astounding how many professors cross the line and start talking about this candidate's crazy, or the Republican Party is racist, or It's absolutely astounding how many professors cross that line, a line that they probably shouldn't be talking about, but they do. So when you have 3/4 of the professors, and I'm not going to say that all the professors are doing this, but there's a lot of them that are, and you don't ever see a conservative professor who is calling Bernie Sanders a nut or telling the truth in which Hillary Clinton should be in prison right now. You don't see that. All you see are the liberal professors who talk about why the Republican Party is crazy, or why we're all racist, or why we're all bigots. That's all that's happening in universities, and it's explained by the fact that 3 in 4 of the professors are liberal. That 3 in 4 are liberal. No wonder our generation is growing up and voting for people like Bernie Sanders. It's because they know nothing better. Many people get their political views from school. A lot of people don't come from a family in which politics is discussed, in which politics is debated upon. So where they get their source of political beliefs is from school. So when you have 3/4 of professors who are liberal, it's no wonder that our students are being indoctrinated with this liberal agenda. It's bound to happen for the simple fact that there is no moderation. There's no middle. It's 100% or 75% liberal bias here in the public university system. Next to me, in the dorm room next to me, he had a Donald Trump sign on his door from the first or second week of school. And people on the floor actually talked about, man, that guy, that crazy guy who supports Donald Trump. They actually talked about it like, oh, stay away from that guy. Yet the fact of the matter is that if somebody put up a Bernie Sanders sign, nobody would think twice about it. So why is it that our beliefs are targeted and held as to not the same standard as the beliefs of the other side is? It's complete hypocrisy. I read an article that talked about why professors are so liberal. It said that the Conservative Party has no logic, that it's anti-intellectual, that those who are educated will automatically choose the logical party, known as the Democratic Party. Yet, I beg to differ. In a lot of ways, the Democratic Party absolutely has no logic behind it whatsoever. Take, for instance, their financial status. We have $18 trillion of debt, yet they think that expanding government is the best idea. They think that establishing Americans to be dependent on the federal government for handouts is a good idea. They think that creating a socialist state is a good idea. Yet, if you look to the conservative logic and the conservative movement, it is full of ideas that are proven to work. The conservative movement is based on ideas that are the reason the United States is the #1 nation in the world. We have a proven track record of excellence. And yet, this article was saying that if you had any sort of logic, if you were smart at all, you would go with the Democratic Party. And I just beg to differ. Okay, I'm a biochemistry student. I am doing extremely well. I'm on track to attend medical school. I'm probably one of the smartest people in the chemistry department here. And yet, I'm not a liberal. I know plenty of other conservatives who have graduated college, who are extremely intelligent and have done extremely well for themselves. They're not Democratic. But that article is the perfect demonstration of the hypocrisy that happens in the Democratic Party, because they like to believe that they are the party of everyone, that they welcome everyone. Yet the simple fact is that they only accept people, they only allow people to express their views if you share the same viewpoints as them. Otherwise, they dismiss you. They personally attack you. If you have a different set of ideals or beliefs, they attack you personally. They always resort to something like, oh, that's racist, that's sexist. Yet very few liberals I've come across actually have any sort of logic or actually have any sort of facts or statistics behind what they're saying. Because many people, especially people our age, our generation, they don't know why they're liberal. They don't actually go up and look up anything for themselves. They've been fed it by the liberal biased media. They've been fed it by the liberal biased education system. So if you actually try to debate with them on why they believe this or they believe that, they don't have an answer for that. They just go with the usual easy way out, racist or sexist, or you're just a bigot. But in a lot of times, that's not true. If you look back to 2008, if you weren't voting for Obama, it was because you were a racist. They didn't care that his policies he was proposing were absolutely idiotic. They didn't care that his foreign policy, well, he doesn't have a foreign policy, but if you weren't voting for him, it was just solely based on the fact that you were racist and not because you didn't believe his policies would benefit the United States. That's the perfect example of what the Liberal Party does. They personally attack people because they know. They don't have any sort of logic. They don't have any sort of fact behind what they're saying. So they have to resort to something. So they resort to personal attacks against people. But the matter of the fact is that the conservative movement is very similar to why this country has established itself as the number one superpower. The liberal movement itself is fundamentally different. It's a different ideology, it's a different belief system than what this nation was founded upon. Big government, a welfare state, mandated health care. Yet, it all goes against the free will and choice that this nation was founded upon. They say that their health care is helping Americans, yet they think it's a good idea that if someone doesn't have health care, to fine them, to absolutely make them pay an extreme monetary penalty because they can't afford health care. Where's the logic behind that? Forcing people to pay for health care who didn't have to pay for it previously. It's just an added expense that a lot of families can't afford, especially for the fact that a lot of the Obamacare health policies, their premiums are absolutely astounding. They're higher, in a lot of cases, they're higher than what healthcare premiums were before the Affordable Care Act. Yet, if you don't get their health care, they're going to charge you a fine. Where's the logic behind that? Where is the American ideology behind that? Because it doesn't exist. The Democratic Party right now does not stand for the values and the beliefs that the United States was founded upon. The liberal movement today is nothing short of socialism hidden behind a thin veil of democracy. Yet socialism, even if voted upon, is socialism and goes against what this country was founded upon. This country was founded upon capitalistic ideas. This country was founded on the belief that if you work hard, if you do well in school, if you put in the time and effort, there is 100% a guarantee that your kids will live a better life than you. That's how this nation works. That's how it still works. And yet, the Democratic Party seems to think that everyone needs to be equal. They seem to believe in this socialistic idea. The Constitution says all men are born equal. It doesn't say all men die equal. It doesn't say that all men need to be presented the same opportunities and chance. We are born equal Legally, we are treated equal. But it's up to the individual person to create their own destiny. It's up to the individual person to work hard and make the right choices and provide for their family better than which they were provided. Yet the Democratic Party would love nothing more than to create a welfare state, would love nothing more than to have average Americans dependent on the federal government, would love nothing more than to have the government 3 times larger than it is today, would love nothing more than to drive our debt through the roof. Yet, you can't help American people from bankruptcy court. So that is the inherent flaw in the liberal movement, and that is why it is absolutely essential that our education system stops indoctrinating students with their liberal agenda and actually allows an open forum where ideologies, beliefs, political views can be openly discussed and one party is not dismissed from the other.